chance to hear it, so let her tell it. People on the streets say Sabrina speaks. Tune into the show, she will let you know. Tell all your friends and family. Real talk is no joke. You get the news straight up from grassroots and concerned. You hear some people gone. So tell all your friends to tune in to
Good evening, Cayman. I'm Sabrina Turner, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks, your daily dose of clarity, truth, and community insights. Every weekday from 5 to 6:30 p.m., we're tackling the issues that affect you. From national headlines to grassroots concerns. Whether you're in traffic or winding down your day, this is your chance to hear it straight and speak your truth. So buckle up, Cayman. We're not holding back.
This is the show. We gotta let you know. Now we got to go.
And now, here's Sabrina.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Just give me a second. I just want to make sure that I get out these links because I know a lot of you depend on these links before I do my housekeeping. But yeah, it's good to be back with you this evening on this Hump Day Wednesday. It's much drier today. There we go. Now it's all gone. Oops, I need to delete this one for everyone. Let's delete that bad boy. Delete. There we go. So I sent out one in error. There you have it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good evening, Cayman Islands. Good afternoon. Good morning to our global family. I'm Sabrina and welcome, welcome, welcome one and all to another episode of Sabrina Speaks, Voices of the Islands, Conversations for the World, and the podcast where voices rise, stories unfold, and inspiration takes center stage. Yes, it's good to be back with you on this Wednesday. Some hard-hitting conversations yesterday, sobering too, give you a lot of food for thought. And today is no different. Today's episode is titled Retirement Justice, Bridging the Pension Divide. Shedding a light on it, maybe we can get some personal stories of what people are feeling, but you got to stick with us because this conversation is really about fairness, dignity, and security here in the Cayman Islands. Here's the reality. Under the pension service, the Public Service Pensions Act, you know that government workers can retire at 60 and pretty much commute at least 25% of their pension into a lump sum, right? While still receiving monthly payments for life. However, under the National Pensions Act, private sector's workers must wait pretty much until they're 65. And although they can also take up to 25% of a lump sum, the remainder must be phased withdrawals annually, like annuity, right? There are two systems, but there's one Cayman. And I'm hearing the rumblings. I'm hearing it for some time, even during my time. But tonight, it is the aim to spark discussions. I've been speaking to persons, even retirees and all that sort of stuff. And then this morning, it sparked another conversation ensued, and hence me saying, let's take a deeper dive into it. No, I don't have any experts. It's just hearing from you, the real people, and hoping that those experts, those persons in this industry are listening, and this platform is available for them to come in and shed some light, give some more clarity, because there is a divide, there is disparity based on the conversations being had and what is being heard. So at the end of the day, what it means for families, for workers, and even for our future. And this episode, let me just make it clear, is not about blame. It's really about civic education and shining a light on laws that shape our lives and asking whether reform is needed to bring true retirement justice for everyone. But that's not all. Because also in today's episode, I will aim to look at illegal migration and how the Cayman Islands, we wanted to go into this yesterday, is bracing for a possible Cuban refugee crisis. And what does this mean for our community and our resources and definitely our future? Now, the content you're about to hear, including any discussions or opinions from myself, a guest, and participants, is intended solely for general information and entertainment purposes. It is not a substitute for professional legal, medical, or financial advice. I encourage you to consult with a qualified professional for specific concerns. Bridge Media Limited and all of its affiliates disclaims all liability for any decisions or actions taken in reliance on the information presented. 345-936-8255 is the number to call. Also, you can WhatsApp to be a part of this discussion. And don't forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe. And remember, always tell a friend. It's good to be back here with you. I see you all coming in slowly but surely. Before we get into sharing some good headlines, I could imagine we got some good headlines coming out of the US today. Yeah, believe it or not. Let's take a look at the Cayman Islands weather forecast for tonight and into tomorrow, because the synopsis calls for a high pressure system over the southeastern US that will continue to support fresh northerly winds and rough seas across the Cayman area. As the system moves further east into the Atlantic Ocean, the pressure gradient is expected to weaken over the northwest Caribbean, leading to moderate winds and seas by tomorrow morning. Now, satellite image shows scattered layered clouds south of the Cayman area. The forecast for tonight calls for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will fall to the mid-70s. Winds will be northeast 15 to 20 knots, becoming 10 to 15 knots overnight. Seas will be moderate to rough with wave heights of 4 to 6 feet, mainly along northern and eastern coasts, and a small craft advisory is in effect. Now, tomorrow, the forecast calls for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers. Temperatures will rise near the low to mid 80s. Winds will be northeast 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be moderate with wave heights of 3 to 5 feet. There will be a low tide at 5:40 this evening, a high tide at 11:21 tonight, and tomorrow there'll be a low tide at 5:06 and another high tide at 11:08 p.m. The sun will set this evening at 6:10, and tomorrow morning sun will rise at 7:02. Just in case Jim has any plans, sunset tomorrow is at 6:11, but guess where we will be? Right here. Now, the outlook is for moderate winds and seas along with a low chance of showers expected through Saturday. It's a long weekend coming up here in the Cayman Islands. I don't know if you're excited about it, but so am I. Why not? It's the first one for the New Year's, and it is our Heroes Day celebration. We'll be out in our numbers celebrating our national heroes, and more to come on that as we ease on into the weekend and definitely embracing the long weekend and all that it brings with it. So keeping our fingers crossed, I think there's going to probably be another northwester or something coming in. But you know what? Let's leave it to the experts. When they actually say it, when they forecast it, we will definitely say it. How remiss of me yesterday. I apologized. I was 2 days behind and not sharing birthday wishes. And it's one good thing. My cousin here will know that I am... She can't say that I'm not consistent. I'm horrible when it comes to birthdays. I'm horrible when it comes to dates. I'm horrible when it comes to names as well. So I'm forgiven. I know that. I felt the love when I apologized. And I hope that it is the case with both of these persons who are dear to me and considered family as well. Let's say send happy birthday shout outs to Sherry Ann, who celebrated her birthday over the weekend. Yep. Big shout out birthdays to Sherry Ann on her birthday. I hope that she had a wonderful weekend. That was yesterday. Yes, hope that you celebrated your birthday. You had a blast, and wishing you all the best in the future. And I know I made mention of this young man on Friday as well, who celebrated his birthday on Saturday. Wallace Wilson. Everybody may know this man as Red Rat. He is one of our own here in the Cayman Islands. Yes, have strong ties here, strong Caymanian family and friends, even did schooling here. And Miss Pat Wilson, I'm quite sure you're excited. But Wallace, Red Rat, however you know him, I know him by all the names. Happy belated birthday. And like the post said, let's pretend I'm not late. Let's pretend. But wishing you many, many more birthdays. I know you're grateful. There's a lot of gratitude. Cheers to you both on your birthdays. From all of us here on the Sabrina Speaks family, wishing you many, many more definitely to come. And I hope that, as usual, Wallace, that you had a blast. Yeah. So there you have it. Let's see who's here. Shaka Zulu was first to comment today. That's right. Happy hump day. Yes, good to see you, Shaka Zulu. Damian Henry is in the house. Always good to have our regulars. Everlyn Palm, 6761. Good evening to you, my love. Rosie Rose, how you doing? Hope you're in the new year is treating you well. And to all of you with all of these, whatever these are, hi. Thank you for whatever they mean. See the heart. Love you too. Darlene's in the house. Good old class of 1990 is always with us. Boy, Darlene, you straight up, boy. I love your comments. I read them. I do read them. I read them. You're something else, boy. Never change. The real Michelle is here as well. Hello, everyone. I am still alive. Yay. So even that we celebrate today, even if it's a birthday, anniversary, celebrating life a whole. And if for some reason you're celebrating a birthday and it didn't come on my radar, more than likely you're not on my Facebook page. So that's what keeps me up to date unless somebody sends stuff to me. So yeah. It's not like I'm selective or anything. If you're not there, I'm sorry. I'm not going to see you unless you send it. 345-936-8255 is WhatsApp. If you know somebody who wants to share their birthday with them and you want us to give them a shout out, by all means, send them to me. I'd be more than happy to do the same. Show them all the love we have here as well. Howdy, darling. Mine Connor beat you up. Where is she today? Where is Connie Bonnie? She's a little late, Jimbo. Connie's a little late. Yes. Rochelle is real. Michelle, did you see the email that I posted yesterday? You were asking if on the link at the end, I posted Mr. Balika's email. He didn't have a problem, so I shared it. But I posted it yesterday, real Michelle, just in case. So yes, I hope you saw it. So I remembered now that I see you. Yeah, but it's good. It's good to be back with you here on this Wednesday. Jimbo, I know you love this segment, but we got to do the global headlines roundup. Yeah, let's do it. And let's see how quickly we can get it done so that we can just get into the crooks and crannies. I'm expecting you to participate in this episode of Sabrina Speaks. I need your feedback. I want your feedback on this because what's the sense of me just here? People need to hear from you guys out there who may be impacted by this. Okay, no problem, real Michelle, but it's there. I posted it. Now let's take a look at what's making headlines today. And I promise you, this is a condensed version. In the United States, guess what? And I thought this was interesting when it popped up today because Danny is always, and we spoke about freedom of speech. And we're going to do an episode on that as well and just come full circle with it. But look at this headlines that came out of the U.S. today, that the Federal Communications Commission, and I think it's just only fairness in media, has ruled that late night and daytime talk shows must now offer equal time to opposing political candidates. Very interesting, isn't it? Now, this decision could reshape programs like The View and Jimmy Kimmel Live, which have long operated under exemptions. Yeah. So they're setting the lines in the sand. Very interesting, though, but that's a part of what's coming out of the US today. Also in Europe, leaders are debating new carbon tariffs on imports, sparking trade tensions, while rail strikes continue in the United Kingdom. Across Asia, we're doing a dash today. China has introduced tighter rules on foreign investments and artificial intelligence. And Japan is still recovering. Did you know this? From last week's earthquake in Honshu. Yes, they did have one. I saw it pop up. but it's still trending. It's still making headlines around the world. But closer home, we noticed that Caribbean governments, including us right here, and we'll dabble into this, we were trying to get into it up to yesterday, are bracing. But Caribbean governments are, including our own, are bracing for possible Cuban refugee crisis as migration pressures grow. And in Latin America, we know just from the weekend rains, we saw images out of Rattan in circulation. But in Latin America, heavy rains have caused severe flooding in Brazil and displacing thousands of people over there. Now, around the world, the common thread, as we can see, is change and challenge. From media rules to climate policy, even technology and migration is definitely making the headlines. Hey, Marshall, good to have you with us. Connie Bonnie, you're finally here. You're laughing, you brute. How are you, my love? Good evening, everyone. I was on YouTube, Auntie Sabrina, a kinder, gentler world. Just switched over because I needed... Now I see the laugh. Keep eye on Jim. You better keep him, hold him close. Boy, competition is stiff. Competition is stiff. Well, in other global news headlines, let's take a break from the heavy hitting headlines and look more at some good news here, even right here in the Cayman Islands and a little bit around the world. I think you're going to chuckle at one particular one, but for all of you animal lovers, especially Jimbo, I think this one of these headlines will actually do a little warmth or a little fizzle in your heart. Yeah. Cayman Mall Road reports, yay, that Badabanu and Caymas are joining forces to create one carnival. Yes. Hooray. Now, for decades, Badabanu has honored our turtle nesting heritage every May, while Caymas brought a modern carnival flair in June. Now, instead of competing weekends, Cayman will host a single unified carnival celebration, and organizers say they will strengthen our cultural identity, boost tourism, and bring the community together under one banner. Now, one carnival means one Cayman, vibrant, united, and ready to showcase our spirit to the world. So that's actually a good news coming out of Cayman. And there's other good news coming out of Cayman as well. Also making headlines here and reported by Cayman Mall Road is the Cayman Islands Football Association has launched, guess what? Its first official mobile app. Yeah. Fans can now follow local football like never before with live scores, update standings, schedules, statistics, and even team information all in one place. Now, this app also features videos and photos, creating the most comprehensive digital platform in CIFA's history. Now, this is available for free on Apple and Google stores, and it's believed to be the first football association in the Caribbean. Here we go again. Yes, making the mark. We're setting the mark. It's believed to be the first football association in the Caribbean to launch a fully dedicated app for its competitions and national teams. Now, Cayman football has officially stepped into the digital age. There we go. Lots to be celebrated here today. Yes, there is still good things to report out in the world. And guess what? Jimbo, I know this one is going to get you. This one's going to get you. In the US, a family has been reunited with their cat. You may say, Jesus, where's Sabrina pulled that one? Guess what, though? It's just not a regular reuniting. After 4 years. Yeah, they have been reunited after 4 years, thanks to a shelter listing. Now, isn't that a good feeling? Any one of you animal lovers out there, if you've been separated for whatever reason, can you imagine be just out of sight, out of mind, in a sense where just memories, you're like, oh, it's done, it's gone. And all of a sudden, 4 years after, obviously this family kept checking. And all of a sudden, yes, all of a sudden, they found their loved one. So yeah, that's a good news. And other good news out of the US is that the United States President Donald Trump says he is dropping plans to add a 10% tariff on goods from 8 European countries over their opposition to his push to acquire Greenland. So yes, that's also good news. And guess what? As far back as Kenya, even them are respecting Mother Nature. In Nairobi, a birdman is rescuing helpless birds and giving them a home. Yeah, that is just good news for all of you animal lovers and who love to do our part in taking care of nature. And also, globally, the United Nations High Seas Treaty has come into effect, protecting our oceans while, listen to this, lung cancer deaths among women are declining thanks to medical advances. Now, these stories remind us that progress is happening and there's always reason for hope. So there you go. There are good things to report. Yeah, and I thought I would share them with you today. Real Michelle, is Cayman word about water surge or tsunami from close? Yes, we are, because we're flat. And I think there was a Real Michelle, there was something in regards to the waves and tidal waves because the water surrounding, I'm doing this by memory, so please don't quote me. The water surrounding us is so deep that by the time it would get 4, 5, 6 stories high, pretty much it doesn't get time to build because our waters are so deep. And then we have, yes, the reefs, and but with how things are going right now, Michelle, there is still concern because we are not high. We don't have the highest point is Mount Trashmore, the landfill. But one of the things that God has protected us with is how deep our waters are, that they're so deep it doesn't give it enough time to build. That's what I can recall from a number of courses that I've taken and being involved in the CERT management training with Mr. Boxall, Simon Boxall, who normally do these tidal surges and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm quite sure we can hear more from the experts, but that's one of the things that stand out for me as well. Yep. Hello, and for those of you just joining us, welcome. Even if you're late to class, I'm Sabrina, and welcome to Sabrina Speaks. We are brought live to you from the Cayman Islands every Monday to Friday from 5 until 7 p.m., 345-936-8255. You can call in live. You can send me a message on that number as well on WhatsApp, or you can just message from whatever platform you are watching from. Yes, it is good to have you here with me. Darlene says, Sabrina, can you please read over the job description for the position? Oh, for the governor, the deputy governor, for our next deputy governor. Okay, give me a minute. Jimbo. Yes. Connie, you see, he watching you. Hey, Donnie. Good evening. Welcome. Look at my friend, Carol. You see, do not zoom in. She good. Be good. I know you would love those stories, Jimbo. Jimbo. Yep. It's good to have you all here with us today. Now, I would love in this episode, like I said, in case you all just missed it, to just look and go into the discussion of some of the disparities between government and private sector pensions, because I know that it is now making some talk because people are getting to that. I guess you're seeing the cost of living, the realities, and you're looking at private sector, government benefits, pros, cons of being a civil servant once you got 10 years in, that sort of stuff, and why the difference. This is just based on what research I did. And like I said, I'm hoping that should we have any experts that specialize in public service pensions and likewise the national pensions, feel free to comment. And even call us and give some advice just to dispel some of the things, or maybe you can expound and give more context to this. But again, I invite any participant to call in and share it on this, because there are two distinct pensions here. And some questions may ask, why do civil servants enjoy more flexibility while private workers face stricter limits? These are some of the questions that are being asked. Why can't they get these balloon payments without as much restrictions? They're doing the comparison. And the big question is, this is the time right now for reform. Real reform is what is being asked. So later on, of course, once time permits, we'll turn our attention then to look into the illegal migration. With the regional instability, we're seeing where it's talked about even more now in regards to, let me pull that up, Darlene, where there's a risk in regards to these migrations, and people are getting a little concerned. Leaders from around the region is actually voicing their, I guess, fears and concerns. And then we're seeing where, there we go. All right, I got it. We're seeing where some Caribbean countries are actually taking deportees from the United States, which is also posing possible migration issues as well. We don't know how that's going to play out. It's only a matter of time. So Darlene had asked here, for the sake of yesterday that I read the advertisement for the DGs. Sabrina, is it possible for you to have Marco on your show to see if he is qualified political experience? I can ask, but I doubt if he'd be willing to discuss that. Not speaking on his behalf, but I can always reach out, Darlene. But based on your ask, can you read over the job description for the next deputy governor? Okay, here we go. Here we go. All right, let me just get this off the screen. Hold on. Yeah. Okay, so that is the job description there. And it says clearly at the top, black, bold, deputy governor and head of the civil service. And the key responsibilities, this is taken directly from the government's website, is that this position will be the head of the civil service, and the successful candidate will play a pivotal role in ensuring good governance, the effective delivery of public services and public sector reforms and strategic initiatives. Now, the key accountabilities for this is that their responsibilities include responsible to cabinet and the parliament for all activities of the portfolio of civil service, provide advice to the governor and cabinet on policy implementation, act as governor when required to do so, oversight of all operational matters of the civil service, responsible for the nationality, naturalization, and official document matters, sit as an ex officio member of both cabinet and parliament, chair and coordinate meetings of various committees and councils, perform ceremonial duties, and speak at a wide variety of events, represent the Cayman Islands locally and globally, is what that is saying. I have to get the other one because it was just too much. And here we go. And then the requirements says, constitutional requirement. The deputy governor must be a Caymanian as stipulated under the Constitution. The deputy governor must hold or have held a senior position in the public service to be eligible to hold public office. And the education, the post holder should be educated to first degree level or equivalent, a master's degree in public administration, business administration, or similar field, or a degree in law would be highly desirable. Experience, a significant number of years experience as a public servant, including at least 10 years in a civil senior public service position, example, head of department or head of statutory authority or government-owned company. A public servant who has, through knowledge and experience, worked with the executive and legislative arms of government. Board experience in and in-depth working knowledge of the government's organizational structure and functions, including budget and financial control and personnel management procedures. Experience of leading a public sector change management process is highly desirable. Proven track record of successful management and leadership skills are further prerequisites. Experience in one or more technical areas for which the post holder is responsible is highly desirable. The skills, excellent research, critical thinking, analytical, and writing skills are necessary. In addition, the post holder must be confident, creative, and be able to display initiative and think outside the box. A proactive approach, an innovative approach to public service delivery is essential. A people person with a track record leading to large teams is essential. The candidate must have a high level of interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, and the ability to lead, empathize, inspire, and relate to people at all levels within both government and the community as a whole is necessary. The post holder must also possess a high degree in professionalism, integrity, and acute political sensitivity and awareness. The post holder must be able to maintain politically neutral in his or her work while carrying out the responsibilities of their position, serving the government of the day, and in a way that ensures he or she maintains confidence and trust. So there you have it, Darlene. I hope that that satisfies your ask. That conversation actually ensued yesterday. And there we go, just keeping up there. Buenas tardes. Wake up, Cayman. Hi, Sabrina. I found out that in Cayman, status holder who now lives in the UK, son lost his life by while he was riding an e-scooter. I saw the flowers at the spot where he died. Oh no. Oh my. Wake up, Cayman Islands. That's sad. I found out that a Caymanian status holder who now lives in the UK's son. So this is a Caymanian son lost his life. Oh my gosh. Sorry for that. I'm hoping that our thoughts and prayers go out to that. Again, these e-scooters, this is something that we're trying to regulate here in the Cayman Islands, and they still pose a danger on our roads, but I guess there's no difference in the United Kingdom. I hope eventually we'll hear more on this, but thank you for sharing that. I mean, despite it being bad, oh gosh. It's topical now because we were dealing with the e-scooters here in the Cayman Islands, trying to regulate them. But it's all that's sad news. And I'm definitely going to keep on it to see if we can figure out who that is. Oh my goodness. But yeah. Oh, there we go. From one thing to the next, and it's emotional. Darlene, I'm not so sure. I will ask that question, but we will see. But that, just for the sake of those who may meet those criterias and want to apply for it, that closes on the 1st of February. The deadline to apply for that position is the 1st of February, guys, just in case you actually want to apply for it. I'm just making you know when that deadline is. Yeah. So let's go into the pensions now, as I want to get in, and just to make it make sense, because I see that a lot of you are able to keep up better when I can show you images on the screen to just make you follow along with us. But allow me, please, to just walk you through the history of pensions here in the Cayman Islands. And there we go, hoping that everyone can see that clearly. Now, we begin going back as far as the 1940s and covering that range of the 1960s, because you got to understand where we're coming from and how we got where we are. We know during this time, 1940s to 1960s, was when Cayman's economy was built on seafaring, and men and women, men predominantly, worked on merchant ships, sending their money home. But there was no formal pension system during that time. And what families relied on were remittances and community support. In 1970s to the 1990s, as the Cayman Islands government expanded and our population grew, it introduced pensions, but this is more now for civil servants. It introduced pensions to civil servants. Now, these were defined benefits, and that was between 1970s to the 1990s. Defined benefit plans. And what that particular plan did, it guaranteed monthly payments for life. Between 1970s and the 1990s, the Cayman Islands government introduced pensions for civil servants. And these were defined benefits that guaranteed monthly payments for life. The Public Service Pension Plan, which is government, or PSPP is the acronym, became the backbone of government employees' retirement. Okay? Then came a major shift in 1998 when the National Pensions Act was passed by then in our Legislative Assembly. For the first time, all private sector employers were required to contribute to employees' pension. Now, this system for the private sector is called defined contribution. So you will hear these definitions and terms being used, meaning benefits depend on how much is paid into the pension pool and how well the investments perform. You don't decide that. It's based on your pension provider with who they actually invest your monies in different bonds, stocks, whatever, going into the whole science behind it. I'm just giving you the history, okay? And then in 2016, amendments were made strengthening governance and clarified withdrawal rules. You know what happened in 2020. During the COVID crisis, temporary laws then allowed early withdrawals to help struggling families during that time. By 2023 and 2024, new revisions expanded pension access that then allowed withdrawals to buy land or even to repay mortgages or to clear them off. Now, what we're seeing in today's society, and this is why I thought it was important for me to just give you a history on the screen, is that we may be one jurisdiction, but Cayman has a dual system. And this dual system is one, the Public Service Pension Act that sets retirement age pretty much at 60 for government workers. And there are discussions in regards to expanding that. And anything I say here, I stand to be corrected with this age because we're hearing 65, 70 now, age 70 as well. And I'm thinking I heard some age of 75 as well. Again, for full disclosure, I stand to be corrected. The National Pensions Act sets retirement then at age 65 for private sector workers. Now, what we're seeing is the two systems, one Cayman is what we're seeing. Two systems, but one jurisdiction. And that's why we're having this conversation based on conversations that are now being had, even by those retired civil servants who were in there long before we even had a pension. And when it was time for retirement, they didn't have that much built up in the kitty. And it's hard really to break it down unless you're actually in it yourself. And to understand the law and the history, you really need to see where it's coming from and whether reform is needed to bring fairness and dignity to everyone. So if you're listening right here today to this episode of Sabrina Speaks, and you want to weigh in on this conversation, you may be someone who is out there and is just struggling right now to give us your experience or give us your feedback. 345-936-8255 is the number to call, WhatsApp, to be part of this discussion. And I know because I got this headline, there was a WhatsApp message that I received, and I clipped it from here, of someone who was in the private sector. Says, I've worked in a private sector for 25 years, contributed faithfully to my pension. But when I retired, I can only take a small lump sum and the rest has to be phased out. It feels restrictive. I worry about emergencies. What if I need more cash up front? I respect that the law is meant to protect savings, but it feels like government workers get more flexibility than us. I think Cayman needs to look at reform so everyone has equal dignity in retirement. Now, do you agree with this perspective? Good evening, caller. You're live on Sabrina Speaks. What's on your mind?
Hello, Sabrina. It's Siobhan. How are you?
Hey, how are you? It's been a minute.
It's been a minute. It's
You
been a minute.
behaving?
Well, but I say be good at it.
How
Good.
are you?
I am well. Talking about the pension.
Mhm.
I'm not even sure where to start. But I think I listened in to you a bit before with the summation of where we started to where we are now. I think with the last amendment being, I think 2023,
Mhm.
where
New
they
provisions
made,
expanded 2023 and 2024.
correct, where they kind of, well, within that as well, they included fines for employers, for blah, blah, blah. But I've never seen anybody imprisoned or received the fine, but that's I digress. That's on the offensive section. You're not going to get to an offense if you can't even get your pension, so don't worry about that. But I heard you there speaking earlier about not only what is a disparity, but what feels like to me as outright discrimination between private pension holders,
Mhm.
i.e. private sector workers, and government, i.e. civil servants, statutory bodies, statutory authorities, workers, in terms of what is paid, what is received, and who is required to contribute,
Mhm.
and to what excuse me, to what amount and to what end.
Mhm.
Right? I'll try to kind of categorize it as I understand it. I am not an expert, but I have spent the entire, I would say, better part of my day kind of reading through and doing a bit of research, particularly surrounding the National Pensions Act.
Mhm.
Right? And I think it's important to note that the public should also note, as you've said, there's an entirely separate law
That's true.
that governs civil servants,
Mhm.
pension funds, and the rest of us. I don't think that in itself is a problem.
Mhm.
I personally see the problem is with the treatment in which funds are disbursed.
Ah.
Civil servants do not shop at a different supermarket than non-civil servants at retirement.
Mhm.
We don't, private sector workers or civil service workers, they don't get favorable interest rates any differently. Everybody get whacked with the same stick, right? So as I know and understand at present, and I believe which has been the case at least since 1998, which is when the National Pensions Act
Came in effect.
was rolled out, where everyone in the Cayman Islands, with slight exceptions, I believe, for Caymanians under the age of 23 pursuing higher education. I think those are the only exceptions there, where an employer, in the sense of a private employment, an employer was required to contribute, I believe, 5%, and the employee was required to also mandatorily, per the legislation, required to contribute that additional 5%, making an aggregate 10 between the employer and employee.
Domestic helpers and farmers, those first gardeners were,
Paid for
few. Yes.
Right? But for the most part,
Everybody else fell under it.
Everybody else kind of was rolled into that. Now, we have civil servants and government employees civil servants or government employees, statutory authority employees, I believe, and I stand corrected, at least 10%. I believe, just based on a little bit of my research today, it's 12%. Civil servants have a non-contributory health and pension benefit, meaning they pay $0 for health insurance and $0 for pension. Let's slip the health insurance to the side and focus on pension.
Well, that's another thing, because that's a total different show.
Yeah, that dog and pony show. But anyway,
I have on the screen here the disparity between the civil service, which is the PSPP, and the private sector that shows the retirement age. And again, we can play with these ages because, they're being discussed. And I think the minister is also looking at possibly revising or amend, or even we're expecting some amendments to this piece of legislation as well.
We might be got work ourselves to death, it sounds like.
But we're waiting to hear that as well. But here's the disparity between the two based on what research I did in the little time that I did it. And you are quite right. Civil service, once you have lifetime medical coverage after 10 years, and then no medical coverage, must have private insurance for those in the private sector. That hit home to someone who's retired with just already restrictive monthly payments. But you know what? Go ahead. You go ahead. I'll leave this on the screen so it all ties in and makes sense.
Well, so if you're a private sector worker, like I said, you're already mandatorily, legislatively required to pay in a minimum of 5%, up to, I believe it's about 90,000 CI dollars. Anything after that would be considered an additional voluntary contribution. So you can tell your employer, let's just say you earn 100,000 CI, you can say, that my pension, I'm not paying above what the law requires me. I'm paying 5% of that 90. Your employer must match that up to that. But that 5% comes off the top. That already does not happen in the civil service. If my salary is $1,000, that's $1,000 minus my pension, my 5% mandatory pension contribution. A civil servant earning $1,000 a month takes home $1,000.
They don't see the deduction. No.
Nothing is deducted for pension. Nothing is deducted for insurance. All of their pensions, and I think it's important to note, maybe they may see it otherwise, and if I have it wrong, I would like someone to correct me. Their government pension is fully funded by the employer, i.e. CIG. There's an argument that, well, actually their salaries are being advertised post-deduction. I'm not sure if I buy that argument, because I believe that the pension and the health insurance are operational expenses that would have never been included in the salary to begin with. That is what the salary is, but I stand corrected if I do not have that correct. Nonetheless, the way the public sees it is, at present, as it relates to the pension, civil servants have a non-contributory pension. Okay?
Meaning it doesn't impact their bottom line. Whatever they agree to as a salary to go home is what they take home. That's not the same in the private sector.
It is not. At minimum, the private sector is already starting off at 95% of their salary at the minimum for that 5% mandatory deduction for that pension, right? So my employer's also, like I said, paying his 5, So I'm contributing. And at the age of 60, I come to retire. At present, if you have, I believe it is under 250 or 200, I can't really recall, dollars in your pension fund, and at the rate they're pissing it away, we may not have much more than that. You can get up to, I believe it's a maximum of $15,000 per year, which translates into just a little over $1,200 per month. You can get that, I believe it's said, in monthly payments, semi-annual payments, or one annual lump sum. there is no lump sum, as in, let's just say if you have 200,000 in your pension,
Mm-hmm.
you don't get a lump sum up front. You retire at 60, you have 200,000 sitting there. All you are going to get as a private pension holder is $1,250 per month if you're under 200,000, and I think it just about doubles if you are over 200,000. You can get up to, I think it's 24,000 per year, so that's about $2,000 per month. Which is very different than what the government pension scheme offers. I believe, again, I stand corrected. This is my understanding and interpretation of it. At present, when government former civil servants go to retire, they get a portion, a lump sum payment at retirement. I'm not quite sure what the percentage is. I believe it's up to 25%. And then they continue to receive a monthly amount. I'm not sure what that is either. I think it said 112, somewhere thereabouts of what is
25%
in
lump
there.
sum for public
25,
service.
so it's a
25%.
25% lump sum up front, and then they continue to receive a particular percentage. I think it's, if my understanding of the legislation is correct, 1/12 of the balance. So whatever you have, they will divide that up into whatever X amount of years that you will get per month, right? Representing this 1/12. Will that work out to $1,250? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, private sector employees don't get a lump sum. There's already that, what feels like a two-tier system. CIG contributes 100%.
Meaning the
Okay?
employer contributes 100%.
Employer,
Yeah.
correct. Private sector, it's half and half.
5%, unless you want to do additional contributions.
Unless you want to do more. But your
the
employee is
the
not
law only mandates the employers to do 5%.
correct, right? And then we have the lump sum that we're not entitled to. We have a minimum payout of, like I said, $1,250 for up to 200. I think it just about doubles or slightly less than double. I think it's 24,000 it said per year for under 500 for over 200. Sorry. My question, Sabrina, is why? First of all, why the disparity in treatment? Given that me as a private sector employee, I've contributed to that. So has my private sector employer.
Mm-hmm.
I've contributed to that. In some cases, the $1,250 per month that they prescribed me to receive,
Mm-hmm.
or the one-time lump sum of the 15, whatever, my contribution, which includes my 10% contribution, oftentimes
Mm-hmm.
exceeds, or in my case, would exceed the $1,250 per month. So I put in, let's say, $1,500 per month.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting 12. I'm getting $1,250. I'm getting $1,250. I'm not getting a lump sum. I don't understand the logic. I don't understand this two-tier system. Like I said, we all go into the same grocery store. We all.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand. I really don't understand, and I would appreciate if somebody could shed some light. I'm just looking on that in 2026. I think one of the largest burdens to private sector employees
Mm-hmm.
is health insurance if they dare to have dependents. And if you work for a decent or reasonable employer, let's just say that you don't have any dependents. If you work for a decent and reasonable employer, chances are, if you're a single person,
Mm-hmm.
your health insurance is generally covered, just based on what I've seen
Right.
and having been in private sector all of my professional career, right? So that burden is somewhat alleviated. However, a civil servant never has to worry about that. If they got 1 or 10 dependents, it doesn't impact them, right? The law also requires every person living and working in this country to have health insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So my civil servant colleagues will get 25% of a pension that they did not contribute to. So my money, because I help pay some of it,
But
I've
what
contributed
if
to their.
the argument is because they are coming in pretty much, they say the government pays a little less and that's why the benefits outweigh the actual take home salary? What if that is a
But does it
defending?
though?
I'm
But
just
does it
saying
though?
that is one of the defenses.
And you can scream that until you're blue in the face, but until you actually produce the numbers, then the public has simply your word to take.
Mhm.
Your word to take. I've seen where private sector jobs and civil service jobs are neck and neck in terms of salary,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And it's still the same
In terms
benefits of 100%.
compensation, and
Right.
absolutely. And it just comes down to, in sometimes, preference, ability, and your ability to actually land whatever that job is. There's some people who like the security
Mm-hmm.
of, or what they feel, whether it's perception or real, I don't know, of being a civil servant. However, there are people who enjoy the freedom of being in private sector. I'm not saying either one is wrong. Whatever's right for you is right for you.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, we have government creating legislation for two tiers of workers in this country that at the end of the day is going to leave one who has paid their own money, my money, my 5%. I paid my own 5% into a fund,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm going to end up per month getting, in a lot of cases, less than what I've contributed.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas my government counterpart gets 25% plus a monthly payment that could exceed the $1,250 that I would only be entitled to.
So what is the gripe? What is your major gripe with what's happening? The mere fact that we have two different structures, because the disparity
I would think
exists.
so.
It's two different playing fields. The risk level probably with government pensions is far less than the risk level of what is put together or the rules and regulations around the private sector.
But if I look at my pension statement as a private pension fund member,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know where my money is being invested. I don't know if it's being invested in war, arms, adult entertainment, OnlyFans, Coca-Cola. I don't know. That information is not available to us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. However, we do know that typically government-run pension funds are less risky,
Mm-hmm.
right? I would like to know that if I am putting in $10,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you want trades. I should have the option of opting out, of having my money played with. I want to know, at least I know that if I put in $10 a month into my bank account, less $2 bank fee, I gotta have at least $10.
Right.
I'm not taking a massive gamble with pension providers. I don't know who's back there clicking and ticking, and my money is going to East Jabib and all over. We don't know where these funds are being invested. That's another issue.
Well, the oversight, I'm quite sure there has an oversight body that actually looks at these things, right?
It would be nice. It would be nice for them to tell us. It would be nice for them to tell us.
Mm-hmm.
But again, why are the public pension funds
different
allowed to operate on a less risky playing field? And if they know that if their pension says that you've gotten $15,000 per year, you add up the amount of years that you've been there and you say, this is what I should have.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have that benefit. I know that I've contributed, let's just say a round figure, $1,000 a month, and so has my employer. That should be $24,000 per year.
Mm-hmm.
But because the laws are different, that allows them to play and trade with my money differently than the public pension funds, I'm at greater risk by default. By default. There's no rule that says, well, what is the prohibition on them sticking all of my money into a huge loss of a fund? What is my protection? Is there any? The public pensions is protected.
I'm getting a little some feedback in regards to from a WhatsApp that says pretty much they're believing that government pensions only gets a lump sum for those people that were under the defined benefit. Remember, that was revised under the defined benefit from the first set of people. And then I don't think that the contribution plan gets a lump sum. The contribution plan gets a lump sum. So pretty much it's the persons who were in earlier, like the first tranche, they will get the lump sum.
They're suggesting that the people who came in prior to 1998,
correct, would get the lump sum. The defined, yeah.
I disagree with that because I know someone.
There's other as well, and they're just thinking. They're just chiming in here, but I just want to make sure I include everybody. And they also said that depending on the amount that they have in their contribution benefit plan, then the private or public pension should be able to get a lump sum. And then I think it was something that you said, they said, of course, in some cases, the value of some contribution plans are probably too small to distribute a lump sum. So I guess it all depends on at what point you start contributing. But we're talking more so now Caymanians, are we, just to make it clear, versus somebody who has just joined us here for, let's say, 2 years, 3 years. We're talking about our own people for the context of this conversation and for the example that you're drawing. That's a question to you, caller.
Correct. And yes, for me, absolutely. But I'm not trying to exclude foreign workers because they also have protections under the same pension law and blah, 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 blah. I'm speaking about Caymanians who are living and having their being and intend to do so in this country, right? I just want to know what was the purpose of having a two-tier system, right? And again, for me, this money has come from me. This is my money. This is my savings that was taken from me. I dare call it a tax because anything that is mandatory should be considered a tax. That has been taken from me on a monthly basis at the instruction of the government. Now you're telling me that I don't even get the benefit of what I've put in. I may not even get the benefit of my initial investment, which is very different, as I understand, with the public pension fund, right? And I thank that person who responded to you, but I know someone who actually joined the civil service as in a statutory body in 2001. In 2001, and that person actually did get a lump sum when they went in. I think she did early retirement, so I think she did like 60 or something. So she did get a lump sum. So again, we were of the impression, I guess, like that listener, that under the defined contribution, that after 1998, then they would be kind of on the same playing field as everybody else. Based on that, based on that person who joined in 2001,
right? I
can tell you that wasn't the case, and she got paid out. I would say in around 2022. It was I would say after COVID.
Remember, based on history and what I shared here earlier, government started first, and history goes back to itself, where maybe they just continued the two-tier system because of the mere fact that it started firstly back with only government. And then we saw later on in 1998, where then it was mandatory nationally. But the big question is today is whether maintaining these two separate systems is fair. And then remember, you had the defined benefit. Can you imagine what that would mean in a private sector if those remained? I mean, how would we even come back from that?
But what good for the geese should be good for the gander. What's good for the geese should be good for the gander. And I dare say that, then I would just like to understand the reason and or the rationale, because I don't see it. I personally don't see it.
Another comment came from WhatsApp as well, which again brings it all in line, that even for core government versus statutory authorities, that there may be different too from the regular core government pension structures. Because remember
100%.
now, exactly, statutory authorities are acting almost like private entities. So it's not the same. Remember now, Parliament and has separated from core government. It's two different.
Correct.
Yeah. So thank you for that. For that WhatsApp message. Yes, because they are different. But the big question, yeah,
is that Parliament one?
But it all depends on how long you've been there too, as well, my love. Speaking from experience. Nah. It's not worth it. But look, the big civic question, to be honest with you, is whether or not maintaining two separate systems is still fair and sustainable, or whether it should be, reforms bring them closer together with more alignment. Now, going back to this whole defined benefit, that would bankrupt us. We see what's happening right now with healthcare costs. We're seeing what's happening with that.
Correct. And just to kind of say that we know what the present day cost of living looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So $12.50 a month. If you just to throw some numbers out there, $12.50 a month. God forbid if the person wasn't able to obtain a home before the age of 40. They can get a mortgage up to an additional 25, maybe an additional 35 years, right? But let's just go with 25, because right now 65 is the defined retirement age. That person may be up till 65 still paying a mortgage.
Yeah.
And decides to retire for whatever reason. And the law actually allows them to retire early. Let's just say for whatever reason, at 60 they have to retire. They still have an additional 5 years left on their mortgage. Let's just say, I don't know, their mortgage is $1,000. How does that person on this $12.50 payout? How does that person survive? Bear in mind, the civil servant would have gotten a lump sum at their retirement. So they had a little bit of change to kind of tide them over and to make, I guess, some provision. That's not the same for the private sector employee. You get that $12.50 a month. Like it or leave it.
So the big, in addition to, I think what I'm getting from what you're trying to show, and it's really hard without even graphics, that sort of stuff, but I thank you for calling in and shining a light on this, right? Because it's real. It's happening, right? We saw in Public Accounts Committee where even the CEO of HSA, being that executive of a statutory authority, has said the cost in itself, and government needs to consider even looking at all of those persons who have given in the Health Services Authority. And yeah, we're going to go there, Caymanians. Once they're, remember now, that's a statutory authority. Based on their retirement package, the cost of healthcare is actually going to lead a lot of our very own persons, our own people, to DAF. God forbid, with underlying conditions, which is to the heart of what you're saying. But is the time now, has the time come right now that pretty much the disparity exists because of maybe us fearful of actually just trying to do some sort of amalgamation? Forget the defined benefit. We don't that's not even a topic for discussion. But what I'm saying, having them a little bit more similar, and whether or not just having them under one legislation. I'm not the expert, but with these conversations, you're seeing where persons in statutory authorities persons working for private sector who are retiring, and they will probably end up needing financial aid from the government into their to later years with dignity. Is now the time to have the conversation to really look at probably having them more aligned? I don't know. I would love to hear the feedback from those who are in it.
If we're not going to, I don't even know what to say. And believe me, I do understand, government may have it structured a little bit differently for a specific cause and purpose and intention. But again, I bring up the issue of health insurance that we touched on, because there's also legislation that makes it mandatory for everyone living and working in the Cayman Islands to have health insurance coverage. At present, the only persons that we are able to truly track and confirm that they have health insurance, I dare say, are work permit holders, because that has to be reported into work. Yes, if you work for a firm or a big four, whatever, that too has to be reported in to a thing. But what about Caymanians who are self-employed? There's a requirement. Who's policing it? Who says that they can afford it?
We don't know until they get ill, because under the Constitution, you really can't turn anybody back. And once you're Caymanian and you show up at HSA, which is a delicate dance, they have to render care. They don't have the right to say, I refuse to take care of you. And that was the conversation. Yeah. But pretty much, no.
We have rolled out the carpet.
Let me take that back. Anybody showing up at that public hospital, But more so our own Caymanians, at least if you are a work permit holder, because the law mandates that you must have a medical insurance coverage, you can possibly go to the employer. Well, not possibly. You have the right to go to the employer. And the employer needs to recover the costs. But then for the Caymanian who has none, because what do you do?
They're off the creek. But going back to that, we know the vast cost of health insurance coverage in this country. Again, going back to pension, where health insurance coverage is a requirement by law. How does this? God bless the civil servant that got in under the defined benefit, because they're in the lease are going to have adequate health insurance coverage until the Lord calls them home. That's not the same for private sector workers.
But is it sustainable? Is it sustainable nationally?
It's not. And I think when you look at the budget and you look at the operational cost of CIG, and I didn't get a chance to look at it in its breakdown or whatever, but go and see. I'm sure it's there what the cost is for pension contributions and health insurance contributions, because those are operational expenses, right? Is it sustainable? I don't know. These costs have to be recovered from somewhere and from someone.
That's why you heighten up the driver's license fees, all of the other fees, the work permit fees, all of that. That's how government makes their revenue. So we're talking about, we just don't attach these fees to this one, to that nationality. At the end of the day, there is no free lunch. That's being said all the time.
But there isn't, but it feels, as a private sector worker, it feels like civil servants are getting a free lunch. It feels that way, whether it's real or perceived. That's the perception. That is the perception.
So
you make $1,000, you take home $1,000. You pay in $1,000, you get back $1,000. Whereas I pay in $1 million, I could walk away with half. I pay in 10, I could walk away. It may go up, it may go down. It may go up. We may gain, we may lose. There's no certainty in a private pension. There's no certainty. There's certainty in the public pension. And again, we're already being what feels discriminated against by having the audacity to be in the private sector because of this upfront lump sum payment and this mandatory 5% contribution. Let's just quote unquote put the burden on employers. Why does it, and I'm not suggesting to do this, I'm genuinely asking the question, why wasn't it done? If CIG thought that they could shoulder the burden of a non-contributory pension plan for a civil servant, why didn't they think that a private sector employee who is out there, who has no price control, nobody can tell them what to charge, nobody can tell them what to do, why didn't they think that that was good for private sector employees? I just want to know. Why did they think it was a good idea for private sector employees to have to contribute a minimum of 50% to their health insurance, but decided for civil servants that you pay zero? Why is that?
I can't answer for the government at a day when that came in, or for these reforms that even happen naturally. But again, what I'm taking away from all that you're sharing with us is that it needs to be more of a level playing field, because this disparity is actually impacting people's retirement where dignity is concerned. I have heard persons working in statutory authority that they worry that they are now at retirement age, and based on the example that you gave, theirs are no different with mortgage. Once they're retired, the cost of living,
Correct.
have a young child,
Correct.
how are they going to make ends meet? And it's the system is actually aging them out. But even when they look at what they would get per month, it's not enough to sustain themselves, and they find themselves having to go to work or go to DAF.
I was going to say, forget about having to go to work. My grandma say you live until you work until you die, right? I don't think that that's the goal of anyone. That's just the reality of the climate in which we live in for quite a number of us, right?
Aye.
And I don't think there's anybody who's out there, who's not dignified and who doesn't take pride in the fact that they have a job and they get to work, right? There are people out there who are at retirement age, who are working, who are happily working. I'm not speaking about those persons. I'm talking about persons who have to continue to work because despite receiving $12.50 a month, they have to work to maintain, as an example, their health insurance coverage.
There is a comment that came up here that pops into question, and Gina, I could get to you. Michaeling says, what happens if you die before you finish draw on your pension and the funds goes to your surviving spouse? What happens when the surviving spouse dies? What happens to the remaining balance that was used to be paid? That would go to the estate. But Magdalene, here we go again. The disparities in the two laws, it's a little different under the government system and for private sector. But what would happen if the surviving spouse dies before whatever remaining balance goes to the estate? And with government, it's a different,
the estate of who?
The surviving spouse in this case.
But that's crazy. That's crazy. Right? So let me understand. Let me understand this now. Let me break it down, right? Because we're talking about surviving spouse. Let me break it down to everybody out there. Me, Siobhan Hyde, I'm paying into my pension plan. I marry James Brown. Brown. He is my husband, right? I die. James Brown is going to, by law, receive my pension. Fair enough. That's my husband. That's the risk that I take. James Brown passes on, and instead of my pension going to my estate, it'll go to James Brown estate, who contributed nothing. Pull my hair and call me Saleh. I am done.
They're actually trying to get that from the public sector. I know that there are a number of persons that have argued that. And again, I stand to be corrected. But in regards to the surviving spouse, let me see if I can get this. And this is under the national pensions. Pre-retirement death benefit 39 subsection 1 says, if a member or former member of a pension plan dies before the commencement of payment of a pension, the person who is the spouse of the member or former member on the date of the death of the member or former member is entitled to an immediate or deferred pension, the commuted value of which is at least equal to the commuted value of the deferred pension of the member or former member. Subsection 2 says, the surviving spouse may elect that either the pension is respect of the deferred benefit described in subsection 1, as I've just read, shall be paid to the spouse. 1, no earlier than 10 years before the spouse attains the age of 60, or no later than the spouse normal retirement age under the plan, or B, the commuted value of the defined benefit shall be paid by the administrator to one of the vehicles. The choice of word here is interesting. That's not a car in this case, for one of the purpose specified in subsection 34. So when you go to 34 to transfer, a member of a pension who on or after the 1st of June, 1998, terminates employment, who's entitled, no, I think this is who it goes. Let me break down this other section here that I read. Pretty much what it means for the one of the surviving, bottom line, what that section that I read first is that the law ensures that if a pension member dies before retirement, their spouse is protected and can either receive pension payments later or take the lump sum value right there and then. So pretty much if John, let's imagine John was in a pension plan but passed away before retirement, and his wife, Mary Jean, has two choices, the surviving spouse. She can wait till she's closer to retirement age to start receiving that monthly pension payments. And this is under the national pensions law, not government. Or in her case, Mary Jean, she can take the lump sum value of John's pension now and put it in her own retirement savings account. Either way, the surviving spouse is guaranteed to receive at least a full value of John's pension's benefits. I'm hoping that's bringing context, Magdalene. But I thought that was very interesting because that popped up earlier on today.
You know what that law also fails to take into account? If that member has minor children, where is the protection for minors?
You would hope that they would take care of their children.
All I'm saying is, so let me, because this is a real possible scenario. I married James Brown. I've died. I have 2 children under the age of 18 who are minors. James is entitled to my pension, and he ought to take my money now versus later. There is nothing in law that says to protect my children. If they're minors, hold on and let me go a step further. He goes and marries, he's going to marry you, Sabrina. He marries you and he dies. Then you got my money that you made 0 contribution to. What about my 2 children?
Under the pension law, that's actually how it's worded. And I know that I will pen a personal invitation to see if either one of the private pension persons can come on and explain this to us in another follow-up segment. And I'll also do an invite to our government pension to see if they can come, whether they want to come together or they can come at different parts to just explain it. But I'm quite sure, because of the diverse listenership that we have here and viewership, that it would be good to have them all so you can do the comparison, not to get at either. It is more educating. This is elevating talk. It's about civic, bringing an awareness.
Absolutely. To be clear, I've only, brought this to the forefront because I was recently having a conversation with a very good friend of mine who is nearing the age of 60. And I was shocked to learn that in my head, I thought everyone received this lump sum. And we phoned the pension
But
company.
it all depends on
and
how
they
much you
said,
have, where the lump sum is concerned. That's what I'm understanding.
yeah, but if you're a private pension holder,
And you reach that retirement
There is-
age, there is a lump sum
there
that
is
you
no
get.
lump sum.
Yes, it all depends. I can say this because I know there is a family member of mine who got somewhat of a lump sum, and they're getting minimum drawdowns. But to say how much that percentage was, and I just recall it. I don't go into my family's business, but to the best of my knowledge, there was a little lump sum. I stand to be corrected, and they're private.
Yeah.
But I'll
I
ask
don't
just for
know.
clarity, not that I'll go public with it. But yeah, just to ask if there was a lump sum.
I don't know where we're at with this thing, Sabrina, but I think it warrants a larger. I think it warrants a larger discussion.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I think it warrants a larger discussion, and because at present, I think we already feel significantly disadvantaged.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's
Significantly.
obviously a
And that is-
disparity. There is a difference. Huge.
But I agree. But if there's a rhyme or reason or a benefit,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that the responsible person should at least come
Mm-hmm.
forward and say so, because just based on my understanding, my interpretation of what is written in current legislation, that's not the case. That's not the case. And the perception is that that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
And based on what you've said, what you've read, we both have come away with the conclusion that that isn't the case. So are we both wrong? If I'm wrong, I want to be corrected.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm right, I want to know why it's that way. And I want to know, what do they intend to do to fix it?
Mm-hmm.
Do they intend to fix it? And if they don't, we already know that pensions are underfunded
Oh yeah.
by at least 10%, based on the mandatory 5% contribution. I
Mhm.
think the figure is somewhere, the recommendation back in 2021 recommended that pensions should actually be funded somewhere closer to 17 to 20%.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm being conservative and saying we're already underfunded by at least 10%. When you have somebody who is taking out 5% from their salary with no guarantee that I've put in $10, I'm going to get back $10.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of hard for me to want to pelt in on additional anything.
Right. Well, some people just don't have it. I'm getting some feedback from Diana Green that she says no lump sum, just retired in November after working in a private sector for 45 years. Just
I'm telling you,
150, 15,400 per year.
once a year, that's it. Once a year, you get the annual withdrawal, or you can take it monthly. And God forbid, when in our research, when we phoned the pension company, they basically said, well, God forbid, if you retire in July,
Mm-hmm.
your payout, if you want the lump sum, is not going to happen until
X amount.
January of the following year.
Yeah. What are you doing
How
between that
does
time?
a person make it in between that time? Life is still lifing. Health insurance has to be paid, and I will continue to harp on health insurance because it is a national legal requirement.
I have
That
another
person is no longer.
I have another comment from Gina. Good evening, everyone. That $1,250 a month don't apply to everyone in the private sector. Some employers are not advising their employees on the options that they have, like annuity from Sagicor that can pay you monthly, which can be more than $1,250 a month, depending on the amount you put in. This amount is paid to you as long as you live. Gina, thank you for sharing that with us. So I thought
I
that was
think that's
actually.
an I think that's called an RSA.
Mm-hmm.
So there is something. However, if I understand it correctly, if
Yeah.
I understand it correctly, that is something that you are paying into separately. So I don't believe that you have the authority
Mm-hmm.
based on legislation to say, I'm going to pay it. So let's just say your employer decides that he is going to, forgive me, Sabrina, I'm just going to use one of the pension providers. Let's just say your company pension fund is with Silver Thatch. I don't think that you have the authority to say to them, by the way, I actually don't want my 5% to be paid into Silver Thatch. I want you to pay it over to Sagicor annuity. I don't think that's an option. That 5% is with whomever the employer decides is the pensions holder, and that RSA, it's called a retirement saving annuity. That is a separate fund. That
Okay.
is a separate fund, if I understand correctly. But I think, Gina, and I stand corrected if I don't have that. So at least for people who can afford to do that, Sabrina, for people who can afford to do that, right? What I'm saying is people are bawling about the 5% coming out. No,
Yeah.
and let's not talk about the massive losses that we're suffering on our pension fund, right? Who is going to, with confidence, help money into something else?
Yeah. And I mean,
Right?
remember, we're talking about pension, including that is medical.
100%.
That's separate.
100%.
We saw CMR did a story on one case where there was somebody working for a health insurance company, and they were finding it hard with the deduction, and what is alleged that they were mandating this person to take the highest package, or because that was the policy of this company. Now you would think, based on the story, and I'm just going by memory, and stand to be corrected, that they would have been given more flexible options. But we're seeing of that, even with a salary, let's say, and this is not from the story, let's say a salary of $5,000, $6,000 a month, just medical insurance alone, especially if you have dependents, can take a big portion of that away from your take home.
Well, I can say to you, I know as a matter of fact that the health insurance for a premium health insurance plan, quite frankly, in my opinion, the shit plan, which should be called something else, should be done away with for the coverage that it offers. However, I can tell you with full confidence that right now, for a premium health insurance plan with two dependents, that can be a spouse and a child, one parent and two children, whatever the case is $2,110.11. You heard me correct. $2,110.11. That is the premium in 2026. Things in Cayman don't tend to go down. They tend to go north.
So with an income of $5,000, mortgage, light, utilities, just car upkeep and all that sort of stuff, let's put it in real terms. Snacks.
Well, let's put it into real terms, okay? The government of my $5,000 has already told me that he wants 5% to give it to somebody so he can piss it away. Because quite frankly, I dare tell you, it feels like they're pissing it away. Okay? I'm already short of 5%. I have a health insurance plan. Let's not even say two dependents. Let's say I have one. The difference between having one and two dependents is minimal. And by minimal, I mean within, I think it's $200 to $300. Okay? So I'm going to be paying. And bear in mind, there is no requirement in law for your employer to even assist with the cost of health insurance coverage for your minor dependent. Forget about adult dependent.
Yeah.
I.e. spouses.
Because the older you get, the higher a risk you are. So the younger you are, the lower the risk. But
Correct.
we're seeing that changing now because we're having babies being born diabetics. So we're even
you see what
seeing a
I'm
change
saying?
in that. We're seeing Babies being born with cancer.
Which again increases the premium, which could increase the premium.
Yeah.
Okay? So there you have that. So we know, I would say, give or take, for a single person with one, let's just say, minor dependent. They have a husband, but he have a job, and his boss pays his health insurance. So I'm covering myself, and I'm covering my minor child.
Right.
Okay? I'm grown. My child goes off. My child is grown. He has his own health insurance cover. Right now, for a premium health insurance plan, and yes, everybody can say we can get a chic plan, but that is, you know what? It's not chic, it's something else, right? You are paying $989. And guess what? Let's not forget, there is no requirement for a contribution from a person, from your employer, while after you retire. For private sector workers. Okay? There's no requirement. So out of this $1,250 that I'm supposed to pay for UC, pay for water, go to the grocery store, maintain health insurance coverage, I'm supposed to get all of that from $1,250. And I've gotten no lump sum up front.
Yeah.
The math is not mathing. It's not mathing.
But what it's going to come to roost is that at some point, the clock isn't reversing on us. And how are we going to take care of our people?
Well, let me digress from the
You say
pension
it's
part.
not how much you make, it's how much you save. But life happens as well.
But how you gonna save if you're not making it?
Exactly.
How are you going to save if you're not making it? We live in a country where we have the second highest cost of living. Do we have a high standard of living? Absolutely. But we pay dearly for it. We pay dearly for it. And I'm going to slip away for a quick second from the pension conversation, and let's talk about the reality of health insurance. Every single person and or family in this country is one health crisis away from being homeless and broke.
I tell you that.
Okay? Every family. I don't care if you have millions or billions. One crisis could wipe out your wealth.
One test.
I saw
one medication.
I saw where a young lady I will not call her name, just a few years ago, whose child was born with a very debilitating form of muscular dystrophy. The treatment was $2 million. $2 million. It exceeded her lifetime maximum of health cover, and the insurance did not cover it.
Please note,
about people?
You said her lifetime. I don't think people caught that.
You only get $2 million.
There you go.
Your coverage is maxed out at $2 million. And if you're on a private pension plan, a private health insurance plan, you are maxed out at $2 million. Your lifetime coverage is $2 million. Now, I can speak specifically to this. I had a medical crisis in my own family where my copay was $86,000. You figure out what the bill was.
Oh, wow.
When my copay was $86,000. Okay? So no, we can't take this lightly, and we can't look at this as if, blowing smoke up somebody's behind. We have to do something.
And you're thinking, and what are you thinking that is with the pensions? Okay.
Creating disparity in pension payments. What I'm saying is, okay, so maybe a lump sum may afford me, maybe getting a 25% of my pension as a private pension holder may allow me to pay my pension pay health insurance up for the year. And I'll be able to finagle my way into the next year by trying to scrimp and save whatever monthly payments I would have gotten. But I don't think, let me speak for me. I'm nowhere near retirement age, right? But I'm just saying, how does one navigate all of those expenses that I just highlighted to you, health insurance being one of the requirements. How do I provide that with the cost at which it comes on $1,250 per month? Either I'm paying health insurance and being homeless, or I'm paying health insurance and not eating, or I'm paying health insurance and living in the dark. That's the reality. That is the reality. At the end of the day, something as necessary as health insurance coverage, you're going to find a lot of Caymanians on the Department of Finance, DFE.
No, we're seeing it.
NAU.
Oh, and they're applying for permanent indigent.
Going to be
permanent indigent.
But what options are they leaving us with?
None. And that's why they're applying for it.
Yeah. Right now, I personally believe that right now, in this current, the way Cayman is set up, the health insurance system is completely wrong for this country. It is completely wrong. Bear in mind, from what I can see, and I've spoken at length to medical professionals, I've spoken at length to insurance professionals on the broker side, on the reinsurance side, and I've also spoken to just the everyday, behind the scenes, processing payment, claims administrators, whatever you want to call them, right? And they're saying, well, this model is really only good for one person, and it ain't the person receiving the treatment. It is good for the person receiving the payment. Okay? Right now, I believe what we have is completely unsustainable.
So bottom line, people are not getting their value for money. I got into a conversation just before coming live, and the scenario that was bought, they bought pension, medical insurance coverage for their helper from Cineco. And of course, it's the chic plan, as Jim has it, and I'll put it on the screen. And the question was, if that is government, a statutory authority, why is it I'm just paying money in, paying in because it's mandatory that I have it for the employee. But when they go to use it, God forbid, isn't that money accrued? That was the mindset.
No,
and I said no. And they're like, but why? Because they're saying, because the employer was questioning, it's government. Why not?
Which is why I will continue to advocate. And no, I'm not advocating for an increase in the price of shit health insurance. What I'm advocating for is for better coverage and better value for money on that plan. The average cost of a shit plan is $171 KYD dollars per month.
And
so
please don't have pre-existing conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure. That can be all $400 a month.
Help me, Jesus.
Yeah.
We're not doing that to him, Sabrina. No, we're not doing that to him.
At least $400 a month.
No. In my case, I have a perfectly picture of health human. Everything is wonderful. They're paying $171 per month. And has to go end up with influenza B. And I'm telling you about a real scenario that is personal to me. End up with influenza B. You know what they're entitled to? One doctor visit per year at a maximum of $400 USD. Yeah. God forbid if they gonna get hospitalized. If they can't buy medication, well, don't eat their supper. Because that's not covered. That's not covered. Right? And so you are paying on average, plus or minus, for a shit plan without any.
Gives you no mileage. No mileage.
Let's call it that. $2,400 per year. And you are at best getting a benefit of $400 USD. Not even KYD.
USD.
That math is not mathing.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The only time that health insurance is beneficial to the person that's using it is if they are in an emergency of sorts. And by emergency, it's very specific, and it's capped at 2,500.
There we go. How far can that go?
Not 2,500. $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
My apologies. It's 25,000. But let me tell you what I know. The most expensive room that you will ever sleep in your life is a hospital one. You understand? You don't even have to get treatment. You just go lay down in there. So at the end of the day, what are we really doing? What considerations are we making to overhaul the present not only pension but health insurance system for this country, so that government is not going to be left holding the bag?
And that's what's happening now.
Are not going to be, and Caymanians are not going to be left to languish. Languish is what's going to happen for the lack of proper medical care. I have a person who is very near and dear to me who lost her job a year ago in the private sector, who is diabetic, who is receiving a pension that's 12-something a month, who can't get health insurance, who has too much pride and said, I really don't want to go to NAU because I don't want them in my business. I worked for 30-odd years, and this is what my life has been reduced to.
Mm-hmm.
This is what my life has been reduced to.
They shouldn't be ashamed to go to DAF, but I know it's a Caymanian pride. I've seen that. And they're actually, they come to tears just knowing they have to they see no other. And then, of course, due diligence has to be done because of unscrupulous acts in the past. The innocent suffer for the guilty. And you literally need to have a DNA test for what they're asking for you to get medical coverage. But that's because of bad actors of the past.
And that's fine. But imagine how regressive we have become in a country that boasts the amount of wealth that we do, that years gone by, children had free health care. Yet in 2026, if your mama or your daddy ain't got health insurance for you, dog, eat your stuff her.
To a certain degree, because the Ministry of Health and Wellness does have a line item that it covers those children. If by any reason that there's also a line item that covers that you ran out of insurance for children, for even those persons, for geriatric that doesn't have any. It is not a permanent thing, but what I'm saying, there are provisions there paid by the Ministry of Health and Wellness. There are line items in the Ministry of Health. Now, what was helping? But look,
but that's also very finite, Sabrina.
Exactly,
but
also
very finite, and that is a band-aid.
Exactly, but that the mandatory medical insurance, from what I can recall, based on discussions being had, is that the governments of the past realize the continued escalating cost in healthcare nationally for our people, okay? So they felt one way of being able to try and lessen that debt being borne on the government is that once parents were employed, that employers were mandated to have medical insurance, they thought that they would have also included their kids. You follow me? Because nationally,
the law requires you to cover the law,
but because it is so high, they can't.
Who said that they can't? You may not be able to afford it.
No, the parents, the deductions, yeah.
Absolutely. However, your inability to afford it has very little bearing on what the law says.
Understood.
The law places the onus on the employer to make that mandatory deduction. And that employer can be responsible
But only if they're
the
declared.
caveat is
Oh.
if they're declared.
Right.
If they're declared, right? And all I'm saying is, but again, this could all be fixed with a national health insurance. This could all be fixed. Who wants to receive a less, what is perceived to be a less quality of health care? Who wants to be on the receiving end
Of less.
of anything, to be honest?
Mm-hmm.
Who wants to be on the receiving end of that, Sabrina?
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm saying is, you have people who pay into a premium health insurance plan and or the picture of health and go to the doctor, the dentist, once a year, twice a year for a cleaning, and don't have the need to see the doctor at all. At all. And they're paying. I just gave you an example for a premium health insurance plan. You're possibly paying in just for a single person up to $12,000 a year.
Well, I see where Jimbo says here, he pays $700 a month, and it's just a step above the shit plan.
The shit plan. That's what it should be called, the shit plan.
Mm-hmm. And it's just himself, and he's paying as a sole person, excuse me, $700 a month.
There are a lot of providers who are offering a mid-tier plan, which is not what I like to refer to as the Cadillac of insurances. There are providers who are offering that, but truth be told, Madeira, they're not much more than the shit plan.
Again, value is what you're getting after. Value for money.
The cost is much more.
Yeah.
But again, as we continue to see, as you highlighted earlier, God bless them, children, babies being born with cancer. Okay? Children developing all sorts of illnesses, infancy, shortly after birth, born with these congenital things. $2 million is your lifetime maximum. Do you know what it takes to put a person on ECMO, which is a heart and lung machine?
Yeah.
Do you know what it takes to keep them on it? Do you know the cost of a heart transplant? Do you know the cost of a liver transplant, a kidney transplant? What we have from a health insurance perspective is simply not adequate. And to expect that that a person living and residing in the Cayman Islands who isn't earning at least six figures for the latter part of their professional career, at least 30 plus years, is going to be able to provide any semblance of decent health coverage for themselves is a farce on $1,250 a month. It is a farce.
Well, thanks to Uncle Google, a heart transplant in the United States today typically costs between $700,000 and $1 million, while a kidney transplant.
There goes half your coverage.
There you go. And
your lifetime maximum.
And a kidney transplant averages $250,000 to $400,000, depending on hospital insurance and the post-operative care. Now, those figures include surgery, hospital stay, and for the first year of medication. Now, that's the good thing, but it varies. It varies.
Let's not. What we haven't factored into that is all of the diagnosis.
Correct.
Treatment.
Yeah.
That could also eat up.
That ranges, the pre-transplant evaluation ranges between $30,000 to $50,000.
But what I'm saying is, again, that's a separate expense. I'm talking about everyday, run-of-the-mill people who have a cold, who do blood. Listen, sweetheart, I know what health crises are. And I know what the cost of those crises are. And I just, for the life of me, and I'm not throwing this at the feet of this government. This should have been at the feet of governments moons and moons and moons ago. Okay? Because this is not something that's just started, this has been something that has been ongoing. You understand?
Right. And it's only
what are we
continuing to
doing?
get worse as we see the cost of healthcare continue to skyrocket globally. And we're looking at the reforms that is desperately needed. As it started off, was this the leverage then of making our pension laws be more aligned with the public sector? Is that going to give you a little bit more money in the pocket? This conversation has to continue, and I'm hoping that I will get someone from the private pension sector and or both from government to come on to just break it down in layman's terms. We're not getting at you. We're not here to, we just want to educate the public, because we hear from this very emotive conversation. Thank you for sharing your personal experience as well with us and your feedback. But we all are here to learn. And we can dispel a lot of myths out there if we just bring it out and have these open discussions.
I think so, but I mean, again, why I chimed in when I heard you speaking about pensions is I want to know what's the reason for the disparity in payouts and treatment, whatever you want to call it. Why is that way?
Maybe they never rebound from history and they just continued. And like you rightfully said earlier on in another statement, Band-Aid, Band-Aid, Band-Aid. And then here we are now. But is it? Yeah. But at the end of the day.
And it's not sustainable.
Exactly.
Right now,
exactly.
I dare tell you, the only people that seemed to have a sweetheart of a deal were the people who were
The first tranche.
The people who were smart enough to be born and employed in the government before 1998, I got going well with my parents to figure out what were they doing.
Anyhow,
because
we're reaching the end of our show, but thank you so much. Can you wrap it up for me?
But yeah, so I mean, again, I will make the same plea that you made. So the powers that be, maybe the national pensions, DPLP, whatever they call themselves, somebody to shed some light so that the public, I hope I'm not the only person who this bothers, maybe, and even if I am, I would like to know.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I am the only one, I think we deserve to know. I think we deserve to be able to understand. And I think people deserve to know the true position of what their finances will look like post-retirement.
Right.
We already see where we are in terms of where cost of living is, where we're heading, your current expenses, and dare I say, things do not decrease. They increase in terms of cost, and the cost of providing that service will undoubtedly increase. What is the government doing to either bring things in line with it or explaining to us
why?
The plan? I'll leave you. Yeah,
thank you.
But I'll leave you there.
Thank you so much, Siobhan. Jimbo says, thank you, Siobhan. Thank you. And they're asking for us to continue this topic at another night and time. So definitely. Thank you, Siobhan. Yeah, I intend to do that. I will actually pen to various pension providers and also to our government. Annie says thank you as well. Asking and inviting them to come on just to break it down for us. I'm more than happy to accommodate them here. So as we close this episode of Sabrina Speaks, and to show you how pensions intertwine with even medical insurance, at the end of the day, the truth stand clear that pensions are more than numbers. And yes, what Keith says, action speaks louder than words. So let's see. I can actually do it, and let's see who responds. And if we keep asking for it, we keep asking, maybe, Keith, at one day you will see the action. So let me leave you with this, whether you're a civil servant or a private worker, private service worker, your voice really matters here. And I invite you all to continue to share your thoughts and also demand clarity that you're doing here, even though it's respectful. Be like that. And let's keep building Cayman, where every worker retires with dignity. That looks as though it's fading in the sunset, but no, it doesn't have to be that way. Until next time, please, I implore you to be safe on the streets. Let's stay united. Let's continue to stay informed and also stay in power. Until tomorrow, love you lots. Take care. Have a good night.
That's a wrap for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks. Thank you for tuning in and for being part of the conversation. Remember, the dialogue doesn't stop here. Stay engaged, stay informed, and most importantly, stay empowered. We'll be back tomorrow at 5 p.m., same time, same place, right here on CMR TV and radio, where your voice matters and your truth is heard. Until then, Cayman, take care of yourself and each other.
That's it for today's edition of Sabrina Speaks, where your voice matters, your story counts, and your truth is always welcome. Join us weekdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. right here on CMR TV as we dive into the topics that matter most to you. Catch the show live or on demand at cmrtv.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram so you never miss a moment. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and always speak your truth.